Hello again. So for this next section, we will work on Atlas.ti 7 and just examining its transcription service. Let me very quickly minimize my window up top here, because we're just going to need all the space we can get to work today. All right, and before we get started, let's take a look at the two audio documents in this file folder. So we have inspiration, and note that it's a wave sound file, as well as Y geography, which is an MP3 sound file. And if you pan over Y geography, you should get a little window that pops up, giving you a little bit more information about the file type. The file appears to be about 15 megabytes at a length of about 8 minutes long. Let's go back up to inspiration. Go ahead and click that and leave your mouse kind of hovering over that, and observe the little window that pops up. This is a file of 56.2 megs with a length of only 5 minutes and 7 seconds. So this file is significantly shorter than the Y geography file, but also significantly larger. Now, why is that? That's because of the file format. So wave audio files are what are uncompressed files. That means all of the sound data that has been taken in by a microphone or whatever it was with the recording device has been preserved in its entirety, which has its advantages as well as disadvantages. So one of the advantages, which we'll explore in Atlas.ti 7 in a moment, is that you can use this file to slow down the playback of a document, of your wave sound document. So that's a benefit. One of the drawbacks is your files get to be very large very quickly. For example, some of the interviews that I've been conducting over the past couple of years now, my longer interviews running around anywhere from 90 to 120 minutes, those file sizes at the end of the day end up being around 900 megs to about 1.1 gigs. So just be advised on that. That being said, I can slow them down as much as I need to in the process of transcribing. With MP3s, the advantage is the very small file size. I don't know if you were playing with computers in the era of Napster and things like that, but the reason why people were exchanging MP3s instead of waves is because they were a lot smaller. And since we're not slowing down our favorite pop song or whatever, it doesn't actually matter that some of the data, the sound data, was lost in the process of compressing the file. Any losses in that compressed file are, for the most part, not perceptible to the human ear, as long as the bit rate is of a high enough quality. But at that, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. All you need to know for this is that wave files have a very good sound quality, and they're more flexible in terms of playback. That being said, the files are really big. MP3 files are nice and small, but in terms of playback, you're limited. You can only play it at the original speed that you had received the file in. All that being said, enough explanation, let's just get into it. So, at the bottom left of your screen, click on your little window, and right above Atlas.ti 8, you should see Atlas.ti with no number. That's actually Atlas.ti 7. So let's give this a minute to cook up. Might take a moment depending on the service that you're using. All right, and what's kind of happening here is as I was kind of practicing for this presentation, I saved the document that I had produced just for the practice session, and we got a little bit of playback when I opened up Atlas.ti 7. One thing to be aware of with Atlas.ti 7 is the last document you saved will be the first thing to open when you fire up Atlas.ti 7. So yeah, just bear that in mind. It's kind of convenient when you're just working on your own system and you don't have to be clicking around to find things. You just open right up. But for now, we'll just repeat those steps that I practiced previously, and we'll see how to get to this point where I have all of these documents in the drop menu, these weird little text documents that have the same name as the audio documents, and of course do a little bit of practice with transcription. So let's go ahead and start a new project. And in Atlas.ti 7, they call them hermeneutic units rather than just projects. And you'll get a nice fresh window that looks quite similar to the previous one that I had opened up on my screen. And with yours, since you probably didn't have transcription _ samp pop up on your screen, your initial window probably looks more similar to this one. So now that we have this new and fresh window, let's go ahead and maximize it just so we can see everything a little bit better. And let's start saving as well. So go up to Project and then Save As. And let's continue working out of the Downloads folder just so everything is kind of consistent. And we'll call this Caesar Caesar Transcription Samp, or whatever it is you would like to name it, just something intuitive for you, I guess. Go ahead and click Save. And since we don't have any documents happening in here, it should save pretty quickly. All right, so the first thing that we'll kind of want to check out is the Primary Documents Manager, and that can be accessed by clicking the PDocs button up here, or if you click Documents, Primary Doc Manager as well. So, whoop. And this will be where all of your primary documents are listed. Now, if you recall from our lesson in Atlas.ti 8, audio documents, video documents, textual documents, those all qualify as primary documents. And again, all those file types can be imported into Atlas.ti 7 as well, but for now, we'll just kind of take advantage of the transcription service and only focus on the audio documents just so I can show you exactly what's going on. So next, let's add a couple of documents. If you go up to Project in the top left, Add Documents, Add Documents. Let's go back to Atlas.ti 2. Let's click Inspiration, the WAV file, and then hold the Control button and click Y Geography so we can select them both at the same time. Let's click Open. And just be advised, as I talked about earlier with the WAV files, once they get to be a certain size, Atlas.ti will ask you if you want to carry out some sort of special import, which, yes, just do it. It's fine. It's always fine. But it will ask after, the files get to be exceedingly big. So just a thing to be aware of. The next thing that we need to do in order to progress towards transcription is to create a text document within Atlas.ti that we will then sync with the audio document so that you can begin typing into this text document. So one more time, we're going to work with Inspiration first. So go back up to Project, Add Documents, Add Text Document. All right. And since our WAV file is named Inspiration, I like to keep the naming consistent as well, just so I know exactly where my text document is aligned. In this case, inspiration.wav. So I'll click OK. And that will pop up this little type area to the left, and you'll see now P3 will be inspiration, although we're not quite in sync yet. But if you like, you can go ahead and click in that text area. Typing too quickly. And as you create more lines, it will number them. All right. The next step will be to instruct Atlas.ti on how to sync these documents. So from here, click on Documents, ADocs, open Association Editor, and you're going to get yet another window. The Association Editor allows you to link a textual document to an audio or video document. In this case, we're just working with audio for now. Let's drag this out a little bit just so we're not totally overlapping. From here, click on Inspiration, drag and drop. You'll see it pop up here. And one more time, inspiration.wave, drag and drop. And from here, we are good on the primary documents, so go ahead and minimize that, and we've got our association editor here. And now we can start playing back audio. So go ahead and click the play button in the association editor. And you'll now see on the right that the audio file is now open. So let's very quickly go back to our text side. Make sure that we can type freely into there. Great. And this recording starts a little bit mid-sentence, so we'll just kind of do our best to find a good starting point and start typing. So in this recording, this was actually taken from a public panel that was conducted through the geography department last fall, giving, I guess it was a panel featuring 4 graduates from the UW geography program. And they were interviewed on their career trajectory. So that's all this is. So if the subject matter seems a little bit unusual for you, that's all that's going on there. But nonetheless, it was a really sweet experience. So we'll get started here and try to track the speaker number 1 who was asking the question about what inspires the interviewee's work.
For your questions. So, geographers in practice, my first question for you, I'd love to hear you reflect on what professional or community activities are most important to you, and what are the inspirations that led you on those paths?
Okay, tried to keep up as much as I could, but honestly, a person speaking at a regular pace is actually kind of fast. Makes one appreciate the work of a court stenographer because people are speaking very quickly. And feel free to backtrack and correct any typos that you may have gotten up to that point. And I didn't make it very far. So in order to manage this issue, we're going to play with the speed on this program. So if you move to the right on your audio file, there's a little clock at the bottom of the window. And if you hold your mouse over it, it says adjust the play speed. So go ahead and click that. And you'll get this little slider that should be at 1x, so that's original speed. Let's drag that down. I generally find working at 89% or 79% to be pretty good. Let's go with 79% for now. And one other nifty trick that you should probably activate within your association editor is the pause function. So by default, that key is F4. And if your program didn't open with these options already selected like mine did, what you want to do is make sure that this boxed arrow is selected. And as I hold my mouse over it, activate the rewind spool interval when restarting via F4. So the command for this is the F4 button. That's actually why I was able to stop so quickly on this demo. And the next thing that you'll want to do is you'll want to go to audio, rewind. I find that 4 or 5 seconds is really nice. And all this does is every time you stop, it automatically rewinds 4 or 5 seconds, whatever you choose, and then continues. So chances are when you decided to stop the recording as you were typing, it was because, oh my gosh, I'm missing things. This is going too fast. Not to worry. This backtracks a little ways so you can try to recapture those last couple of things that you may have missed before moving on to other things. This is a really great tool. Again, that's F4 to stop and continue. So let me click back and see if I can at least get through one question of transcription.
Inspirations that led you on those paths.
Let me backtrack a little more, and if you find that your starting point is a little bit ahead of what you would like, just rapidly tap F4 to go back and stack the seconds of pause. It's a great little trick that you can do as well. So I think I've tapped twice now. Hopefully this should be at a better spot.
My first question for you, I'd love to hear you reflect on what professional or community activities are most important to you, and what are the inspirations that led you on those paths? And we do not have to go in order.
Okay, so got through one question there. And this is a 4-minute document, so not too long, but with your interviews that may be 45, 50, 60 minutes, maybe longer. Another very important tool to use is called an anchor. So there are a couple of ways that you can use anchors. The root usage of anchors in this program is to sync the document to the audio file in such a way that as you click about the document, the program will be aware of roughly where those words were spoken in the audio file. It's actually a really cool tool. And all you do is, let's set an anchor to the very beginning, because that's just good practice. So move your cursor to the very beginning. And then back in the association editor, there's this little kind of like side-by-side triangle thing with a little red dot under it next to the stop button. Click that. And then that'll make a little red dot in your document. That's an anchor. And as you can see, the timestamp says 0. And if we let this thing roll again,
For questions.
at funny sounding 79% speed.
My first question for you, I'd love to hear you reflect on what professional or community activities are most important to you, and what are the inspirations that led you on those paths?
Feel free to correct any typos along the way, as you will be typing very quickly as you work through this. And where we left off was paths. And just bear in mind that as you pause, it will cycle back 5 seconds. So before placing before placing your anchor, maybe let it run a little bit. All right, so at that pause, it probably landed us with the 5-second backtrack back to paths, more or less. These don't have to be exactly perfect, but then go ahead and place another anchor. And as you can see, that anchor is now at 20 seconds. So the program now knows, it's estimating now kind of what the pace of the text to audio actually is. The other really cool thing about anchoring too is that you can use this just like as an on-the-fly way of marking quotes that really stand out to you. Some people are really good about like assigning quotes and things like that on the fly. And eventually, as you get trained up in Atlas.ti, you'll get to that point. But say that someone in this interview said, call speaker. I was a sushi chef beginning from my junior year at UW to help alleviate some debt. I liked this job, but I knew it wasn't something I wanted to do forever. And you think to yourself, oh, that's a really great notation about one's career path. And when you really think about it, one's career path can be happening in multiple directions while both doing the conventional career thing of going to university, as well as doing this other thing that clearly required a lot of training, becoming a chef. And this kind of demonstrates that like one's career path isn't linear, and maybe that quote is of interest to you. So you can also backtrack to wherever that was that sounded like a really inspirational thing or just an important notation about career trajectory, and assign a marker to it. It'll be assigned a listing in your association editor. And to make sure that you are oriented towards the right one, just click through. This one curiously didn't quite fall into the order that one would have expected, but that's quite all right. What you can do is assign names to these points. So for this top marker, click once, and we'll call this start marker, just so we know what it is. And then for this number 2 position, note how it's highlighting that line about being a sushi chef. We can very quickly note this as career trajectory. And then for this one, because there will be many more time markers, we can just call it marker. Just to keep things in order. Again, as you become more familiar with your code book and also are more keen about the kinds of quotes that you're listening for, you'll be able to pause, highlight, code, assign quotes, etc. As you're doing this. I like to use these little anchor tags because, like, transcription, it's a lot of work on your mind, and focusing on kind of doing one thing at a time, especially as you're new and kind of training up on how to do this, can be really helpful just to take advantage of these little tricks that can help you along your way. And honestly, adding more time markers will not hurt at all. In fact, it'll help keep your documents extra in sync. So just bear that in mind. Take advantage of all the tools that you have in here to make this process a little bit easier. All right. So from here, I think what I'll do is save again, commit changes, and save HU. Go ahead and do that. It might take a little bit longer now that we have a couple of documents in here, but not to worry. And the next phase will be very quickly this demonstration with the MP3 file close the original document that we were working with here, and let's close the text document too. And look how the association editor has since been closed, since been emptied. That's because we don't have any documents open anymore. So let's go ahead and click on Y Geography in the PDocs drop menu. So we got this thing open up.
I'm going to ask you a question that any of us who has ever pursued a green.
Okay. And we could repeat the previous steps as well, because I mean, if we're going to pretend to transcribe both, we might as well generate another text document as well. So one more time, project, add documents, new text document. And this one, we'll call it Y Geography. And from here, we will need to open the Primary Documents Manager, PDocs, bring up that nice list for us. Y Geography into the association editor, the MP3 file, as well as the text file. All well and good. And then from here, click play.
I'm going to ask you a question that any of us who has ever pursued a degree in geography has.
And let's go ahead and minimize the Primary Documents Manager. We've got our association editor open once again, and our text file. So from here, let's get a little more playback from the beginning.
I'm going to ask you a question that any of us who has ever pursued a degree in geography has had to answer. Why geography? What drew you?
All right, so that's all well and good, but again, the speaker's speaking at a normal pace that is still easy to follow when listening, but when typing is a lot more challenging. But since this is an MP3 file, let's go down to the speed option and try to click that clock. Nothing is coming up. How sad. This is because this is an MP3 file. And because it is an MP3 file, it is compressed. That is, there's a lot of kind of in-between data, sound data, that has been lost in the process of compressing this file. So as we noted before even opening up Atlas.ti, I can pull this up once again so you can get a visual. Y Geography is like 8 minutes long, but it's only about 15 megabytes, whereas Inspiration was like 4 minutes long, and it's 56 megabytes. That's because Y Geography is compressed, and it's missing a lot of that in-between data that will not allow us to slow down the file to listen to it in a more manageable speed. So if you receive audio documents in MP3 format from someone else, unfortunately you're just going to have to manage with that fast speed. So this is where I would strongly recommend to you to work with WAV files. I know they're big, I know they're a little bit cumbersome, but they will allow you to work with speed and slowing down the speed to make it a little bit more manageable to follow the spoken word as you are transcribing. All right, and with that in mind, those are really the basics. I know that kind of sitting through transcription is a little bit slow and just kind of awkward to listen to too. But those are really the basics. Save often. Again, take advantage of the stop and spool rewinder. Again, just making sure that this little box arrow is selected. Make sure that 4 or 5 seconds is selected as well. One idiosyncrasy of this tool is that sometimes it is a little buggy and you might have to restart the program. That's okay. Honestly, Atlas.ti 7 is a little bit buggy in a lot of ways, and you need to refresh it every so often. But not to worry, your data is not going to be lost. This is actually very good at protecting your data. And as always, before you log off for realsies, take a little time to finish early, and click up on project and then save copy bundle. Oh. Let's save for real first. Go up to project and then save copy bundle. And all a copy bundle is, it's a great tool to have. All a copy bundle is all the files that you have imported. So all of your primary documents that have been imported into Atlas.ti are then compressed into a single file. This is a great way to back up your work, just in case your original working file becomes corrupted or whatever, or if for some reason you need to go offline, you're not going to have access to, say, the terminal servers or whatever for some amount of time, and you really want to be certain that you're protecting your information, or you're backing up your information. You can save a copy bundle, then move that copy bundle to a flash drive. It'll sit there safe while you're offline, and once you're finally back online, hopefully everything will still be intact. But if something really terrible happens on the terminal servers, you will not have lost your data because you will have a copy bundle. So definitely take advantage of that. And I must warn you that these things can get to be pretty big, and they sometimes take a little while to save. For my own work at this point, since I have 20-some interviews, most of which are over 60 minutes, I have a few dozen gigabytes of audio data that need to be compressed, so I have to set aside some 15-20 minutes to get my thing to save. But while yours is still small, and as it grows, just bear that in mind as you continue working. Protecting your data is absolutely worth that investment of time. Just make sure you set aside time to make sure that you get to save your copy bundle. And the nice thing about working on the terminal server with that kind of thing is, of course, you save initially and then move on to saving the copy bundle. You can actually leave the terminal server running and close your laptop or whatever it is you're working on. It'll continue running while your copy bundle saves. So be sure to take advantage of that if you're working on the terminal server. Okay, and I think that does it otherwise. Again, please let me know. If you have any questions, you can always get in contact with us at Caesar. By emailing csscr@uw.edu and specify that you are working with Atlas.ti, and you will be directed towards me, and we can always work on scheduling an appointment that is at a good time for you, or if you just drop in, ask a question, either I might be around or there might be somebody else available that can help you with your questions in Atlas.ti. But all in all, if you have any questions, just ask. We're always happy to help you, especially now because we're bored. Please ask questions. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Take care and have an excellent week.